Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Why Right. My name is Dr. Thomas. The focus of this video today will be over the rhetorical mode narrative. And I'm trying to click to the next slide, but it's not letting me. Give me a second. All right. And within the presentation today, the video, we're going to look at how to understand. We're going to look at to understand the importance of narrative writing, understanding the brainstorming process, also understanding how to narrow your topic of discussion. This is important, especially for this is important for all of your writing, but especially for narrative, because it's important for you to look at it from a personal standpoint. When you are writing something personal, you have to look at what you don't mind sharing with the public personally, and then what you do mind sharing. Like there's some things that you have to keep private. And I mentioned this in the exploratory writer video, the difference between the public and the private things that you would potentially share and wouldn't want to share to everyone. And this is important when you get ready to tell your story. What parts of your story do you want to share, and what parts of your story do you want to keep private and sacred? And last but not least, we're going to look at how to format a narrative. And as we look at this, we're just going to look at MLA format briefly, because I do have a video over MLA format. And also, even though I discuss it briefly, you still have to check with your authoritative figure, whoever that is, your professor, writing tutor, and so forth, to see what format they prefer that you use. All right, so why write a narrative? Why write it? Why is this important? So when you look at narrative writing, it hones various writing skills. It includes crafting compelling stories. As I mentioned earlier, you get to decide what part of your life you want to share, because of course a narrative is where you share a personal story, a personal part of yourself. You also have to look at, quote unquote, the characters or the people in your lives that you would like to share as well. And then also with the narrative, it really helps you to use language effectively, because it forces you into the writing process part of it. Because as you write, you're going to rewrite, you're going to edit, you're going to decide, I think I want to keep this in, or I want to take this out. So it kind of forces you to use language effectively. And when I say effectively, not to take away from your voice, but to include those nuances that will give the details needed for your readers to really join you in that part of your world. And also, why is it important to write a narrative? It helps with your critical thinking skills. Analyzing narratives require a lot of critical thinking, evaluating the characters, plots, themes. It also helps with empathy and understanding. It also helps with self-awareness, which is, very important to personal growth. So these are some of the reasons why you should write a narrative. And I'm going to jump into the table here. I kind of skipped ahead of myself. So as I mentioned, the narrative, it helps the writer to reflect on a portion of your life, while also connecting with your audience on a deeper level. It is the storytelling portion that really connects you to your audience. And as I was mentioned earlier with the skill development, this really helps to boost your cognitive and communication skills. It helps you by refining your writing skills across different genres. The storytelling process is very important to building on your other writing skills. As I mentioned earlier, the plot, the character development. Also, it helps you to include a wide range of vocabulary and language style. So this helps to improve your language and communication skills. It also helps with improving your reading comprehension. When you engage with stories, individuals can develop a deeper understanding of language, structure, and vocabulary. Reading and listening to stories enhances those, uh, enhances your fluency, and it enhances and leads to greater reading proficiency. And as I was mentioning earlier, being able to tell a story, and to tell it well. And of course, when you are telling your personal story, you want people to be able to connect. So if it forces you to want to tell your story well, which also forces you to want to engage in the writing a little bit more, maybe do a little more research on great storytellers and narratives so that you can build that foundation as well. It also, and with the personal growth part, this is the part I wanted to really dig my heels into, because as I teach narrative, I also teach students about the autoethnography, which I have a video separate on what that is. It's about your story, but with research. And when you do tell your story, it helps you to be more self aware. It gives you the ability to process your emotions a little bit better. And it also gives you some sort of identity formation. So the self-awareness, as a memoir, it helps individuals understand your own past, present, and future. And also processing your emotions. It helps with those complex emotions and experiences, and sometimes it can help with transforming chaotic feelings into some sort of coherent story. It just helps with that overall healing process, if you will. The identity formation, stories shape our understanding of who we are. It influences our identity and sense of self. For me personally, whenever I do my journaling or I reflect, especially on things within my family, and my family in particular, my family's history, it helps me to understand some of my patterns and some of the things that I would like to change and be better at. Also, with narrative writing, I talked about the community and connection. So, storytelling brings all of us together because it helps to convey information, emotions, and ideas in a more relatable way and engaging manner. And as far as building that community, shared narratives can create a sense of belonging and foster community by highlighting these common experiences and values that we have. We may think that we're different when in actuality we're so much more alike than we are different. And having a cultural understanding just means that it can provide insights into different cultures, which makes you a little bit more culturally sensitive. It allows individuals to learn about diverse perspectives and different ways of life as well. The practical application you would think would be self explanatory, but I don't think anyone connects a narrative to the workplace or education or personal development. But narrative skills are valuable in various professional settings, from crafting presentations to communicating your research findings. Hence, that autoethnography, which you're able to blend your narrative with research. Also, in education, the rhetorical writing mode of narrative is a foundational skill in education. It supports the reading comprehension. It forces you to put yourself in the center of the story, which then helps you to make those connections in education. And it builds on that comprehension and language development and critical thinking skills. Personal development, writing about personal experiences can be very therapeutic. I said that earlier. It helps me, and it can help in healing processes as well, to overcome challenges and to grow personally. So, just in essence, narrative writing is more than just a genre, it's a fundamental aspect of human cognition and communication that plays a vital role in personal development, social interaction, and cultural understanding. Now, you may be thinking, where do I start? All right, Dr. Thomas, you told me that I should, look at what I don't mind sharing. But even when I find what I don't mind sharing, I still don't know where to start. Well, I would say first focus on one personal experience or one memory or one observation that um, had where you've had some sort of conflict or meaningful resolution. And also remember to choose a topic that allows for vivid description and engaging storytelling, because the more you engage with your reader's five senses, the more that they can connect and they can understand. You want to start with that central topic or memory. So, kind of going back to the first one, usually there's always a few memories that are very um, near and dear to us and very, I would say, memorable. Whether it is positive or negative, it leaves a lasting impression on us. So I would write down those memories that have left lasting impressions and then decide from there which one you don't mind sharing. And I don't want to say ones because then you will get confused and your ideas begin to overlap. You only need one memory, one experience, one observation where it left some sort of lasting imprint, because you can build on it through the methods of storytelling, through telling the reader what you saw, how you felt, the people that were around. So, really, narrative, it connects with that exploratory writer piece because it allows you to really dig a little deeper and go a little further as it relates to the details around you. So, for example, I'm sitting here at my computer desk. It is a brown desk, in my office, and the walls are gray. On my desk, I have a red cup full of pens and so on and so forth. So instead of just telling you, oh, I'm in my office doing the video, I give you more description and I can go on and on and on. So this one moment can be extended by giving you more vivid details and showing you rather than telling you. So you want to create a list of potential character settings, conflicts, and resolutions. So right now, my story about me sitting in my office wouldn't be too exciting because there are no characters around. But I could potentially tell you about the story of earlier, where I interacted with one of my colleagues and we had a conversation, and who was around, and she was helping me resolve a conflict and what happened with that, and so on and so forth. So that would make for better storytelling as opposed to today in my office, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I'm seeing, and so on and so forth. Also, what helps, start brainstorming using those sensory details, as I just gave you the example, the things that are around me. I'm at a brown desk, I have gray walls. So when you start with those things, those specific events, that helps. And this is a part of the external detail. The internal detail would be, as I'm recording, I'm thinking, oh, I want to make sure that I get this right for my audience. And I want to make sure that they can understand it and that it's engaging and that they enjoy the video. So you want to include both those internal and external details in your writing. Also, if your professor gives you a prompt, it can be a springboard to help you develop your narrative. So, prime example, for my students, the writing prompt for their narrative is either traumatic, for them to either choose a traumatic moment. Have you ever experienced a traumatic moment? How does this moment impact your life today? What have you done or are you doing to help you heal? Or they can choose a positive change and support networks. Have you ever made a positive change in your life? How does this change impact you today? Have you relied on a support network to help you achieve your goals? How does this support network impact your life? Or traditional and cultural practices. Have you ever relied on cultural practices to help you? How does this practice influence your life today? So if you're thinking, I don't know about this last one, for me personally, my traditional or cultural practices will be in the African American sector. So this means that are there things within the African American culture that I have relied on to help me? Why? Yes, there has been. So for me, in the African American culture, one of the biggest traditions is the tradition of prayer. And how do I use this to influence my life today? I utilize prayer quite often. You may be thinking, well, this is a Christian foundation or cultural practice. It could even be an American because most Americans are Christians. However, I know in the African American culture, this is one of the big practices that we learn as we grow up and we continue to grow is to lean more into prayer. So if it's something that I want to expand on, I can expand on within within my culture, African American culture. One of the traditions that we have learned is to pray and make sure that we sit down on Sundays and have dinner and so on and so forth. So things like that. All right, so here are a few key considerations as you're preparing to write your narrative. First things first, always write in first person point of view. Stay away from second person point of view. Next, always have some sort of engaging language, as we just talked about, and show, don't tell. So basically, showing with your language instead of saying, I walked over, or I'm going to get up and walk over to turn the light off. I want to, or I'm sorry, uh, I want to use an example of, oh, yes, you should go over there and turn the light off. You want to show by saying, Dr. Thomas got up out of her desk and grudgingly walked over to turn the light off. In her mind, she's thinking, I wish I had a clapper. So you want to show, not tell the steps, right? Because show helps to paint the picture of the story that you are, quote unquote, telling or trying to convey. As we talked about earlier, you want to focus on a central conflict or theme. It doesn't always have to be a conflict, but typically in narrative writing, you will have some sort of climax. There will be some sort of, conflict. And as you can see within the prompts are even asking you to think about, if you had any challenging times or something that you had to lean onto to help you get past something, which already indicates that there was some sort of possible challenge or conflict so that you can overcome. Also, this is an opportunity to really reflect. As you reflect as a writer, remember your audience is also reflecting along with you. All right, so when we talk about the format, usually it's like the 5 paragraph essay. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not diving into MLA. However, MLA as the format for writing is what we typically use for narrative writing. Now, as you begin to write your essay, you want to look at the 5 paragraph essay, which has an introduction, something that's going to grab the reader's attention. You're going to have 3 strong body paragraphs, and then you're going to have a concluding paragraph. So this is how you typically structure and format your narrative essay. All right, so this will be the portion where I ask, do you have any questions? I would pause here if I were in lecture and ask students to ask questions. Since this is a video, I ask you to ask questions within the comment box. And for more information on me or my videos, please visit my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/@ywrite18. Thank you, and I hope you visit me again to learn more about writing, learn more about research, the style of writing, and critical thinking.